Hello, this is my review of the Viking 4 amp fully automatic microprocessor controlled battery charger and maintainer. This is the first review I'm doing on YouTube, so sorry for the curtness of everything. I went and picked one of these up today because I have a Charger Hellcat. If I let it sit for too long, the battery goes dead. There's a couple of things on there I have, security system, etc., that makes the battery run down. So I figured I'd get a battery charger and maintainer. So I already popped the bottom of it, opening up the box. You've got your 4 amp charger. And then you get 2 sets of cables that come along with it as well. You've got the kind that has the battery terminals that you can put onto the battery itself. That also comes with, as you can see, a fuse, and they both come with a quick disconnect on both. So the use is pretty self-explanatory. Do read the instructions in the box though. With this, I'm going to unpack the wired connection and hook that up to the battery tender itself. So what I have done is I've just taken off the twist ties on these things because the guys didn't need to sit there and watch me do that. So with that, alright, so the first thing you want to do is plug in the quick disconnect. As you can see, it comes on both sides. It's the side with the quick connect has a cover. You just go ahead and plug these in. So now that we have these hooked up, I want to hook it up to to each other. You can see that these connectors actually feel pretty good in the hand. They have quite a bit of tension on them. It's not just a cheap piece of plastic. So we'll go ahead and plug it in. It should pop up with a green when it does. And just kind of do a quick check. 0 volts. I do happen to have this plugged into a surge protector. It is a 15 amp surge protector. This is only 4, so it shouldn't really matter. But now with this, I'll hook it up to the battery. On a Hellcat, you've got a negative terminal, which is back over here. Make sure that it connects well, doesn't move around once it's on there. Same thing with the positive terminal. Positive terminal is over here by the battery. Once that's on, make sure it's on pretty good so that they don't just automatically come off. I will then take and put the cable there so I can lower the hood at a later time. But if you come back over here and check out the battery, as you can see, it's at 12.5 volts and rising. So we'll let it do its thing and we'll come back out and check it out later. Just to go over some of the features on this, you've got a indicator here, right here, that says if you have the terminals backwards. Right about here you'll see a bad battery if it gets to that point. And then you've got your mode selector switch. With that, you've got your standard, then you've got a glass mat, and then a charge for winter. Right now, since this is a standard battery, I just have it on 12 volt standard, and we'll let it charge up for a bit. And just to say, it is a little warm to the touch. Not hot, mind you, just warm. So, it's definitely working. Here we are, hour and a half later, we're up to 14.5 volts. I believe pretty soon it should turn off and shut itself green. I guess we'll be back when it's to that point. Interesting, I came out here just to check on it because it was up at the higher voltage. It dropped down to about 12.6 and now it's on its way back up, so it must be doing some kind of testing. So we are at about the two and a half hour point, and it's up at 14.1 volts again after dropping down there about a half hour ago. So it's slowly coming back up. Well, here we are about 5 hours later, and it looks like we are just about to get it this time. We shall see. Interesting. So it's about 5.5 hours. It's still going, but it's back down to 13.2. This battery must have been dead. We'll have to check it again in the morning. Alright, I am packing this back up. It was about 7 hours last night, and it never switched over to the maintenance mode. I went and did some research. Saw a lot of the one-star reviews on the Harbor Freight website were about the fact it doesn't go over to maintenance. So, packing this up, going to take it back into Harbor Freight, and we'll give it another shot with a different one. See if it works better. So, just got back from Harbor Freight. You can see that this box is unopened. The one yesterday was as well. So, I'm going to unbox this. We'll hook it up, wait an hour, and see how it goes. So, just see there's nothing different about this box. Again, you get the instructions, the clamp cables, the fuse cables that come onto the battery itself, and then of course the battery charger. And that's everything in the box. Alrighty, so let's try this part 2. Figure out what's going on. Go ahead and plug back into the power supply. It does say 0 volts, and it needs to be connected. So now with this, I'm going to be hooking up negative terminal first. Make sure that they don't touch. Also make sure that it's got a good electrical connection. And then with the positive. Now mind you, these are not the battery terminals. These are actually just charging points. You can jump the car from here. On a Hellcat, or I guess a Charger in general, you do not want to charge anything over 10 amps with that. That being said, we'll come and take a look at it. And now we're set to 12 volt standard. And then it also has on there for the winter, which we are not storing for the winter. I'm just doing 12 volt standard for the maintainer. So we'll put this back on here. Right now it's reading 12.7 volts, which I guess technically would be fully charged. Hooked up over there, and then we will wait an hour and see what it comes up with. Still hooked up. Nothing really feels like there's a problem as far as the heat. Today seems to be a lot cooler than yesterday, but at the same time it is much cooler. The temperature yesterday was upwards of almost 80, and today it's in the 50s, so that's the overall heat, though, from the machine feels way different than it did yesterday. We'll see here in a bit how things are going. So we're at 14.4. It's continuing to climb. It's still not very warm today compared to yesterday, which actually just indicates there's less current going through there. Even at the 7-hour point yesterday, while I was checking in on it, it was still pretty warm to the touch. Mind you, it's not hot, just warm to the touch. And now hit the 14.5 volts. So we'll record, see where we get, but it's supposed to turn green for a minute and then go back. With this not being as warm as it was yesterday at the top of the band, I'm assuming that it should turn green here in a bit when it gets a solid 14.5, and then go into maintenance mode. But as hot as it was, even after the 7-hour point yesterday, I don't think it went into maintenance mode. It just didn't seem correct to me. Now, I may be wrong. It may just be a big coincidence, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what this one does. So I noticed it just started dropping back down from 14.5 to here it shows 12.8. I've yet to see it turn green, but it's still a couple minutes shy of an hour, so we'll see what happens. Still, though, compared to the heat from yesterday, it's much cooler to the touch. And even last night when I unplugged it about 7 hours into it, it was still relatively hot compared to this. And this is building up a lot faster than it was before, so. It does seem to be switching voltage here. It's probably doing some kind of finishing charge to it. Coming up on an hour, so guess we'll just watch and see what happens here. So it's been an hour and 20 minutes so far. It's still doing this. Looks like pulse charging. I'm going to step back for a bit and come back out and see how things are progressing. But as of right now, it still seems to be slowly charging. Again, the heat is nowhere. Heat buildup on the machine itself is nowhere near as bad as it was yesterday. As you can see, it's quite a few hours later. It is around 14.1 volts. 14.1, jumping back and forth. So we'll see what happens. Once the battery is charged, you'll see it go full green. You'll have all the bars on the side, and it's entered maintenance mode. So overall, I would say it's a mediocre experience with this. It seems that the first one, while it did charge the battery, it didn't seem to go into a maintenance mode. This one seems to be in a maintenance mode. One of the things that I like, well, of course, the best part of it is the price point and what it does. Some of the cons, though, would be it stays red while it's in the maintenance, and there's really no indication on the battery being fully charged. So if that was improved, I think it would be a much better product.